recognizing the dedicated public service of the Honorable Herb Snyder.
The Senior Senator from the 16th.
Request unanimous consent that the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference dispensed with, and the resolution be placed upon its adoption.
Senior Senator from the 16th requests unanimous consent the resolution be taken up for immediate consideration, committee reference be dispensed with, the resolution be put upon its adoption. Is there objection? Chair hears none, so ordered. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Is there discussion? Senior Senator from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President. This resolution honors a senator that when I first came here was actually the senior senator from the 16th, and then he returned and he took a hiatus and then came back to this body. And I just want to say that the senator from Jefferson and I, we've had some rocky roads, but we've had some good roads, and especially towards this second part of his tour of duty down here, it's been a real pleasure. What I found, Mr. President, with the senator from Jefferson is that he becomes an expert in anything that he sets his mind to. He studies it. As a matter of fact, anybody that hangs around him for any length of time will have to hear over and over again, and they become experts because he wants to teach them what he knows. The other thing I want you to know, Mr. President, that this senator's faced some really challenges in his life. I know those challenges because personally growing up, my father had the same challenges that the senator from Jefferson had. Unfortunately, my father never met those challenges or been able to defeat them. But the senator from Jefferson was able to defeat them. He's a stronger man than ever before, and for that I just really respect him because of what he lived through, and look at what he is today. He's a statesman. He's one of the best senators this state's ever seen, and I'm going to miss him down here, but for good fortune, I'm hoping that things go well where he continues to stay active back in Jefferson County and will be working at a different level. But for that, Mr. President, I ask that we adopt this resolution in honor of the senator from Jefferson.
Further discussion. Senator from Logan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Meeting someone like the senator from Jefferson is unique. Coming from my background, serving 30 years in county government, and was appointed by the governor, and I had to vote for the president of the Senate the first night I was here. And watching what he did and how he did it, when I got here, I told everybody I would want to be the kind of guy to work with people and not cause problems, being an obstructionist. But I'll tell you one thing, state government's so different from county government. I knew right quick I had to look at 2 or 3 of these exceptional senators and try to pick their brain and try to pick the formality of how they do things. And I picked, one of them was the senator from Jefferson County. And I watched how he did things, and I'm not sure I absorbed everything from him, but I did absorb that this is a unique body of people that do what they think is best for West Virginia, and not to be afraid to challenge the system if you think you're right. Do it in a professional fashion, and I've tried to do that. And I watched him do that. But I want to close by saying that sometimes you have a bad habit or two, and I've got 3 or 4 people that we have bad habits, but we associate it with good senators. And y'all know what I'm talking about. Thank you for your service.
Senior Senator from the 17th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also rise in support of this resolution, and just from the perspective of someone who's been able to sit by the senator from Jefferson for the last couple of years and 1 seat away from him for the previous 4, I mean, I've had the opportunity to really get to know him pretty well. And what I can say is, I mean, he is the most conscientious, diligent member of this Senate that I think I've served with in my 8 years here. There's no one who cares more about getting the details right and learning about an issue than the senator from Jefferson. He's really been a role model of a senator. He's got a good sense of humor. The other day he had an amendment that he offered. It was on a judiciary bill, and I kept asking him, did you ask the senator from Oregon about it? No. Did you ask about it? You should ask him. No. So he didn't do it. He gets up and questions the senator from Oregon about it for about 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes we're never going to get back. And then he ends up withdrawing his amendment, sits down, looks back at the senator from Braxton and me and says, "That's how you get things done." He's really a great guy. At his core, one thing I can say about him is he is truly a good man, and he's going to be missed very badly in this body.
Senator from Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. My senator from Braxton already got his chance to say something about Herb Snyder. But, you know, when I decided to come down here, it was because of people like Herb and Senator Laird and Senator Kessler and all of you that are here, particularly Senator Facemeyer. But, you know, Herb Snyder embodies everything we want to be as senators. He's honest. He has integrity. He puts the people of West Virginia before his own interests and sometimes his own beliefs. He puts the majority of the people in West Virginia at the top of the list. How can he help them every day? And that is a role model for all of us in this chamber. Because if you can call Herb Snyder your friend, that makes you a better person. Thank you, Senator.
Senator for Boone.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the resolution. You know, the senator from Jefferson is a technical man, hardworking, as has been addressed earlier. He's very effective. You know, I think back to the haircut bill and some of the things that, and I think back at the Chesapeake Bay and how incredibly effective he was at making sure that West Virginia did what it had to do for the environment. I also kind of remember when things become monumental. It was monumental, and absolutely it was. And when he said it was monumental, we got it to our attention and addressed things. You know, otherwise, we talked about second chances. And my hat is so incredibly off to this gentleman who absolutely has been exposed to temptation and has the strongest man, strongest conviction that there is. And so my hat's off to this monumental man in so many ways.
Senior Senator from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of the resolution. You know, when we arrive here at the Senate, there are certain people that kind of take you underneath their wing and kind of help you, and some people that you look up to and you admire. And when I first got here, I was given my office upstairs where the Senator from Harrison's office is, and was walking through the office getting the tour, and then I came to this posh office with a grandfather clock, and it was huge to take in. And I'll tell you, Herb, if after the Senate, if nothing else works out, your interior designing is absolutely something you can have for your future. I want to tell you a story about 2 years ago whenever I was here and I sat on Judiciary Committee. I had an amendment, and I was still new. I was still trying to figure out everything. And Herb spoke against my amendment. And I thought so highly of Herb that I then immediately withdrew my amendment. Because when he speaks, he is so knowledgeable, and he's such a great orator. And it's just, anytime he gets up, he demands the attention of not just his body, but the audience as well. And it's really admirable. And he's really been a good friend. You know, I don't smoke, but I have a reason to go outside and hang out just because I want to be around him and learn from him as much as possible. And he's really somebody I've grown to admire, and I hate to see that this is the last night, but Herb, I really do look up to you, have admired you, and tried to learn as much as I could in this short time.
Senator from Greenbrier.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I stand to speak for my good friend, Senator from Jefferson. Two things about him I will share. I think he's the only graduate in here from Shepherd University with me. So there's only going to be one of us after he goes, and that's a great thing to share. But the other thing was that I was his vice chair in government organization. And I will tell you, I've worked hard in other committees, but we worked extremely hard. He worked you hard. We had staff meetings all the time. We went over legislation all the time. I was exhausted when I would finish the session as government vice chair. It has been an honor to work with Senator from Jefferson. He is a true friend, and I will miss him too as he leaves. And I urge adoption of this resolution.
Senior Senator from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise and urge adoption of this amendment. To begin with, he's one of my best friends in this body. Herb and I go way back. Yesterday, he introduced his secretary from back home, who I was there when her husband and they met each other when we were out running around and everything, and she was working for Herb, and we were talking about it. It's 30, 35 years, something like that. You and I were at the wedding together, and time moves forward, and there's one thing that when you and I talk, and we talk a lot, I can always take what you tell me to the bank. It's going to be the gospel, honest truth. And you and I sometimes disagree on things. That's life. And that's this chamber. But you and I have never once let what we disagreed upon affect what we agreed upon. And when we agreed upon it, we worked together like Siamese twins to get the job done. And I'm proud of that. Extremely proud of that. What you have brought to this chamber in the state of West Virginia and on behalf of the Eastern Panhandle is nothing short of astounding. And forever, I will call you my friend, and you're one of the best senators that I know of in this room here today. Thank you for your service.
Senator from Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Friend, truly. You know, when I arrived here just a year ago, just a little over a year ago, somebody took me under his wings and began teaching me and coaching me, as he's done so many of us, as I've heard tonight. We share a fairly sort of unique situation in that both of us have been involved in construction, and we've been technical in nature, in the sciences. Me an engineer, he a chemist. And as we've talked over the course of most particularly over the course of the last 60 days, I've sensed something very unique about the senator from Jefferson County. He's passionate. He has great integrity. A couple days ago, we were sitting in my office, and he sat there, and as he was speaking, I heard my grandfather speaking. My grandfather had similar stature. Herb was sitting with a suit on that looked like my grandfather's, and it just brought back memories. I could hear my grandfather coaching me and teaching me. Why? Because he wanted me to be the very best I could be. And Senator, I appreciate your words because I have sensed that of you, wanting that of me, to be the very best I could be. Those words will ring forever in all of our memories in various ways. But I will tell you that you've always got a friend. If you need me, I'll be there. Mr. President, I urge adoption of this resolution.
Junior Senator from the 8th.
I'll be very, very brief, Mr. President. Single-handedly, the senator from Jefferson has changed my mind regarding term limits. And when I look at him and I see the wisdom, the knowledge, the experience, that he imparts around this place makes me think we need more people like that. And I'll just say that the void you leave when you leave here will not be easily nor soon filled.
Senator from Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise also in support of the resolution. There are 3 members of this body who were my senators before I came here. Those may remember, before the population growth in the Eastern Panhandle caused the 16th to contract geographically, Morgan County was part of the 16th. So the senator whom we honor with this resolution was my senator, as was the senator from Berkeley and my colleague from the 15th. And so among my 3 senators, Herb is clearly the oldest. He's been a great senator, and he's been a great member and contributor not only of this body, but in particular the Senate Judiciary Committee. A person who will spend 20 years on the Judiciary Committee is someone who's after and deep within my heart a kindred spirit. I don't know how that committee will function as it has with the loss of the senator's expertise on so many issues, whether it's solid waste issues, anything having to do with utilities, Public Service Commission, Public Service Districts, the rulemaking process. You have been an enormous resource for all of us in this body and on the committee, and you have been a great representative of the people who've sent you here, and it's been my honor to have you as my friend. Thank you.
Senator from Braxton.
You know, my grandmother always said, if you don't have anything good to say about anybody, don't say nothing. But you know, this is my 8th year in the Senate. And when I first came down here, I was like everybody else when you first got here. You didn't really know what you're supposed to do when you got here. But there was 2 guys, Senator Edgell and Senator Snyder, and they felt sorry for me. And they told me one time, they said, you know, we kind of have a responsibility to protect the integrity of this body. And we got a lot of work for you. But they were always my friends. And Herbie was the guy who would help you in a lot of these complicated issues. I remember early into it, I said, why do we have all these resolutions? Oh, he said, Senator, that's when we go smoke. And I was a pretty good student, and I listened. And but he's such a graceful loser. Y'all might not know this, but when Herbie gets onto a bill, it's not the night before. It's 6 weeks before. And every night, we have to sit over there and hear about it. I'm so sick of unfair trade. I'm so sick of this PSD. But you know, he's in his own way, he's brilliant. And he uses such brilliant terms like, I can't believe them people so stupid to vote against me. But Herb Snyder is a statesman. Regardless of whether you agree with him or not, have you ever thought he was trying to do something wrong? Think about that. 20 years, you never thought about him doing something wrong. Herbie drives 5.5 hours to get here. I can leave my house and be in Charlotte, North Carolina in 5.5 hours. He is the example of a fella who loves his family, loves his state, and loves these United States of America. Herbie sacrifices a lot being down here. He's only been home one time this whole session. Think about that a minute. Only seen his family one time this whole session. That's sacrifice, folks. He's the most unselfish person I've ever been around. In life, you're lucky to have 5 great friends. And Herbie certainly is one of mine. Good times, bad times in between. Herbie's been there. And I just really can't say enough. Mr. President, you don't replace people like Herbie easily. The knowledge that he has, the kindredship. I remember one time Senator Blair was having trouble moving a bill. Who came to help you? Herb Snyder. Now, we gave him thunder for helping you that night. I want you to know it. But that's Herb Snyder. Herb Snyder is going to help you if he can. And I guarantee you there's nobody in this body that can say Herb Snyder hurt him. He might have beat you, but he didn't hurt you. He doesn't cheat. He does it the right way. He tries to use the rules of this body and make him get his point across. That's a statesman. And he's always put this state in front of his personal needs. And it's been my pleasure and honor to serve with my friend Herbie Snyder. I urge passage of this resolution.
Senator from Wyoming.
I rise in favor of this resolution, and you probably think why, because I'm so new here, but I've been sitting with Herb in judiciary for 2-3 times a day for weeks now, and I've been disrupting him. I've been asking him questions. I've been doing everything. He not once did he ever get aggravated or frustrated with me. And not once did he tell me a biased opinion. He always was truthful and honest with me, and I appreciate that. And you said to me the other day that one day I would remember what you told me. You said, you'll remember what Herb said to you. I will, always. Thank you.
Further discussion? If not, the question before the Senate is the adoption of the resolution. All those in favor will vote yea. Those opposed will vote nay. The clerk will prepare the machine. Senator from Jefferson, going to push a button. Has every member voted? If so, the clerk close the machine and ascertain the results. On this question, 33 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, not voting. More than a majority of those present having voted in the affirmative, I declare the resolution adopted.